Hey, welcome to Disability Law Show. Good to have you along for another edition of John Scholes here alongside Sivan Tumarkin, the co-founding partner, Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, the most positively reviewed disability law firm in this country. You can check it out to back up what I just told you. Reaching out anytime, 1-855-821-5900. That is the number, help@disabilityrights.ca. We will get to some emails a little later in the show. And if you just go to disabilityrights.ca, I will tell you right now, that will educate you. There's free contact there as well. It's anonymous. And there's also links to our long-running TV show as well, which we'll get some phone calls from in just a bit. But Sivan, I wanted to mention one more thing. LTDFAQ.ca. LTDFAQ.ca. It's exactly how it sounds. You have questions about LTD, especially in these times with COVID-19 and the pandemic and dealing with your insurance company and all that stuff. There's no dumb questions. It's always good to learn more, right? So you can go there anytime, LTDFAQ.ca. But my brother, we always start out with the week that was. What's happening in your world?
John, again, very, very busy week. And, you know, it's interesting. We get calls from across the country. I mean, we have offices in Ontario, BC, and Alberta. But because of our TV shows, radio shows, and everything else that we do in the public eye to educate the public about their disability rights with insurance companies, employment rights, people contact us from all over. Let me tell you about this one lady I spoke with this past week who's from Alberta. 54-year-old woman. She's a pharmacist. She's originally from India, and so she has a lot of family there. Well, because of the COVID crisis, she had several deaths in that family. And she has a predisposition to depression, anxiety, and other psychological issues that she's been able to deal with over the years. But because, you know, over the last year and a half, there's been all these, this tragedy of COVID across the world, and especially in India, what we've seen in the last few months, it's really taken a toll on her. And so late last year, she had to go off work. She applied for long-term disability. She got some short-term disability, then she applied for long-term disability, and she was rejected by her insurance company. And the reason why they rejected her is because they said there was insufficient medical documentation. Of course, we talked about that before in other contexts, proving or showing that she's disabled from working. And of course, that's nonsense. I mean, this is a lady that has a 30-plus year history as a pharmacist, partly in India, and then the majority of it actually in Canada. And so she gets rejected. What does she do? Like most people, she appeals that decision. And so 2 weeks ago, she gets the answer for the appeal, and it's a rejection. And you can just imagine how deflating that was, and imagine how, you know, panicked she was. And her husband has been, you know, a fan of the show and has been viewing the show for quite some time. And he's been telling her to contact me all this time, but she said, no, I can do it by myself. That hasn't happened, hasn't transpired. And so she contacts me finally. She emails me, and then we have a chat about her case. And John, I looked at the letters from her family doctor. I looked at the letters from the psychologist that has been supporting her being off work. And for the life of me, I don't understand. I wish I could simply say out loud who the insurance company is, because we've dealt with them many times before. And by the way, any of these insurance companies, any of them that deal with long-term disability in Canada, we deal with them on a daily basis. Our team engages them and their lawyers. They know us. And they know that when we represent someone, we will go all the way if we have to, which is why often they very quickly come to the table and try to negotiate a settlement, a resolution. And so I told this lady not to worry about a thing. First of all, we'll take over from here. We'll communicate with the insurance company. We'll start a legal claim immediately against the insurance company. We have to be proactive. We have to be aggressive with the insurance company because they don't understand anything else. And in this case especially, I think, given everything I've seen, especially the kind of letters that she's produced to me from her doctors, I wouldn't be surprised if once we open up the insurance company's file, once they have to give it to us and we go through, you know, the guts of it, that there's going to be a basis potentially for punitive damages against this insurance company. You know, and that's something that people need to understand, that insurance companies can't just willy-nilly ignore claims, reject claims, and just, you know, trample on people's rights. They can't. Not only do we go after them and force them to pay what they're owed, but in some instances, especially where there's egregious conduct, we can actually get them to pay additional damages. Punitive damages, aggravated damages, general damages. We don't care what they call them. We just care that they pay our clients what they're owed and more.
You mentioned she was on short-term for a while, but she got rejected for long-term. Same insurance company?
No, a different insurance company.
Okay.
Yeah, different one. But it does happen that you have the same insurance company paying short-term disability only to reject a claimant when there is that transition to long-term, which makes no sense. It's the same test that you have to meet, that you cannot perform the essential tasks of your own occupation. So it's a good question. Sometimes, by the way, short-term disability is paid by the employer. Sometimes you don't have short-term disability. Whatever the situation is, if you are disabled from working, your doctor is supporting you being off work, and you have long-term disability coverage, and you get rejected for any reason whatsoever, check with a disability lawyer what your rights are. Because more often than not, you have a case and you can enforce your rights.
Did she try the first appeal, or you had her off of the pass? Because I mean, what happens is she'll try it, it'll come back, they'll invite her to do it again. Yep. She got rejected, do it again, and this hamster wheel just keeps going, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's a hamster wheel. Yeah. It's a hamster wheel, and people usually just get off it and just walk away, right, from the money that's owed to them. Yeah, no, she tried. That's the whole point. She tried, and she got rejected 2 weeks ago, and that's when her husband said, finally, are you going to cut back, Sivan? And listen, anybody that contacts me, whether it's myself or someone on my team, we will get back to you. We will get back to you. We will make sure that someone talks to you for free from our team. And not in every case, John, I will tell people that they have a case. But one thing they will get from our team is the truth. We're going to look at the policy, if you have it. We're going to look at the rejection letter, at the appeal information. We're going to look at the medical information. We're going to look at everything, and we're going to tell you very fast what your rights are, what is the menu of options that you can select from, and then it's up to you. It's up to the individual to decide how they want to proceed. We're not going to pressure you, but at least you are empowered by knowing this information and what your options are.
Throughout the show, we throw a few different websites at you from time to time. They're all useful for you to use, and they're all free. I'll give you another one right now, and that would be pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Now, you might be thinking, okay, we cover that with Lior. Why, on the Disability Law Show, are we talking about pocketemploymentlawyer.ca? But you know why, right?
Yeah, Pocket Employment Lawyer. I mean, look, this was Lior's brainchild. I'll give him credit. We often find in our firm, because we specialize in both employment law and disability law, that those two areas overlap. We have individuals who are having issues with their employers, who then have issues with their insurance companies not covering them for long-term disability, and vice versa. People who are on long-term disability, but then the employer is giving them problems or firing them, and then they're asking us, what can I do? Is the severance going to impact, the LTD claim that I have or potentially have? And so we created this Pocket Employment Lawyer not just to answer people's questions really quickly, right? It's not us. It's literally a program that is programmed to take the information you're going to give it about your specific situation and then give you an accurate answer within seconds, not just about your employment situation, but also about your disability issues that arise in the context of employment. Right. So if you go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, you are going to be able to get your answers both on the employment law front and the disability law front, or both fronts. Easy, quick, it doesn't cost anything, and it's the only tool of its kind that I know of that exists that deals with those kinds of issues for free.
Coming up here in just a bit, we're going to get to the top 5 insurance company flaws, but I did mention our radio show, which happens all over the country, as a matter of fact, Ontario, BC, and Alberta as well. You want to find some shows, or at least find a station that carries it, disabilityrights.ca. We play back some of the phone calls, as you know, from the radio show. Sivan, call number 1's coming up right now.
My brother was given short-term disability, although that was quite a struggle, and he had to appeal it, and he did get short-term disability. And but the person he's in contact with the insurance company was quite upset about that. And now she's telling him not to bother to apply for long-term because he'll never get that. And it just adds to his state of mind. He just wants to give up.
There we go, short-term and long-term, just talked about it.
We just talked about that, but this is one of those instances, to go back to my earlier point, where when I heard this message, and when I hear about people being told by insurance companies, by adjusters, don't even bother applying, I become livid, because these individuals are relying on this false information. And so they're not even at a position where they're applying because they're being dissuaded from applying in the first place. So whenever someone tells you not to apply when you have a claim, whether it's a disability claim or a house insurance claim, or if you're in a car accident, God forbid, and you need to make a claim with your insurance company, do not listen to them telling you not to apply. 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 Make a claim because you have losses that you need to recover for. In the context of disability, this lady is saying specifically that her brother has these issues and has been on an STD. For the insurance company to be telling him, don't even bother applying, that is insanity. And that's one of those cases where I am telling you, John, if we went after the insurance company here, we would be able to most likely extract punitive damages, punishment, because the insurance company would know that if they don't come to the table to settle the case with us in an equitable and fair way, a judge is going to drop the hammer on them. And these insurance companies are well aware of this. They understand this, but they also know that if they tell enough people out there, walk away, or they'll reject these claims, many people will simply just do just that. They'll walk away. They will not actually stand up for their rights. So this lady, I mean, kudos to her for contacting us on behalf of her brother. It's a fantastic thing that she's doing, and I wish more people, did this for their relatives and friends and colleagues, because many of these individuals who are disabled just don't have the stamina and the know-how and the ability to fight for themselves.
Well, it's because it works for the insurance companies some of the time. They know people that are getting them when they're vulnerable and their guard's down, so they say, don't you even bother applying. Okay, I guess they're right, the big bad insurance company, how am I going to stand up to them, right? So they don't bother. So it's good for the insurance company.
I remember last year when COVID hit, came to our shores here in Canada, there were a ton of travel insurance claims. And my firm was one of the first ones to initiate a class action against one of the big insurance companies, TD Insurance actually. That class action is actually still ongoing on behalf of thousands of claimants across the country. And one of the subsets of the class, or some of the people that contacted us, are individuals who said that they contacted the insurance company, the travel insurer, and they were actually told at that point, don't even bother applying. And what happens in that situation is that if you don't bother applying, let's say in LTD, well then we can't go after the insurance company because they haven't formally rejected your claim.
Right.
So you have to go through the process. You have to apply. You must apply if you are disabled and your doctor supports you being off work. Apply. If you get denied, that's when you contact us immediately.
Coming up, top 5 insurance company flaws, but as mentioned, we must take a break first, so we will get to that. In the meantime, phone number 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca as well to reach out through email. We'll continue. Disability Law Show. Don't go anywhere. People think you should go to the government to get severance pay. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Government can only help you get minimum severance, but not everything you're entitled to. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. If your long-term disability claim is denied, should you appeal?
Appeals often fail because insurance companies control the process. So long as you appeal, you're playing by their rules.
You should never appeal the denial of your disability benefits. Appeals are just a mirage of false hope.
Don't. That's their process. Take it out of their hands and fight for your rights with our help.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Hi, welcome back. Disability Law Show. John Scholes here alongside Sivan Tumarkin, co-founding partner Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, or disability law firm you'll want to reach out to anytime. And the reason we have this show, of course, 1-855-821-5900, disabilityrights.ca, and ltdfaq.ca is another website you can use. Okay, let's get into Sivan, the top 5 insurance company flaws. Took a few days to whittle it down to 5, but we managed to, so these are the top 5. Number 1 is this, and you may not know this. In fact, most of these people won't know. That's why we're enlightening you, right? Insurance adjusters are often overwhelmed with a large number of case files on their desk. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when people are disabled and they make an application for long-term disability, or if they're on long-term disability, and they speak to the adjuster and they feel like the adjuster doesn't really have a mastery or control of the facts of their case, it's because they probably don't. Many of these adjusters are overworked. They are handling easily over 100 claims at any given point. There's pressure there, the pressure to make the insurance company money by cutting people off or adjudicating these claims in whichever way they think is appropriate. And this actually works in many ways to the advantage of our clients, because in one way it's not good because they do miss things, and because they miss things, they may end up cutting individuals off disability or just denying claims for no good reason. But it's a good thing because once we get involved and we start the legal process with the insurance company actually has to provide us with a copy of their entire file. That means that we get to go through all the details, all the communications, everything in the file. And what do? We see how incompetent many of these adjusters are. We pick them apart so that when the time comes to actually show to the insurance company what their exposure would be if this ever went to court, they're ready to settle with us.
Wow.
So yeah, these insurance adjusters are often very overwhelmed. I think especially now at this day and age when everybody's trying to cut costs, including insurance companies, it's not good for individuals, but it's good when we get involved and like I said, we can pick them apart and really show the insurance company that they have no choice. They have to pay our clients.
Top 5 insurance company flaws. Number 2, insurance companies, we kind of talked about this before the break in the last segment. Insurance companies rely on claimants' vulnerability and ignorance. It's true.
They do, and you know the reason why it's under the flaw section, why I think it's flawed, is because I think insurance companies often think that they can bully individuals. They think that the person is weak, they're in a position of vulnerability, mentally or physically or both. And so what they do is they use that to their advantage, not understanding that if a lawyer comes along, like someone on my team, and we see the injustice that is being done, we can actually use the adjuster's bullying tactics and harassment tactics against them like a boomerang. And what that does is it opens up the punitive aspect of the conduct from these insurance companies. And so we use that. Again, not good for individuals because insurance companies prey on that, but good for us in terms of the fact that we can use that to attack the insurance company once we get involved.
Number 3 is this, third flaw. Primary focus for insurance companies, like any business that makes money, is their bottom line.
You know, that's a general flaw that I would say. I got no problem with any company out there wanting to make money. That's the system we have. It's capitalism, fine. But there have to be some guardrails. There have to be some safety controls. And I think that's missing right now in the legislation. I think government, for whatever reason, has not cared enough to put these guardrails in place. And so what happens is these insurance companies are putting profits before their obligations to the insured individuals. Again, we use that against them. We use that against them because when these companies make stupid decisions that impact these individuals' lives, when they tell you you're not going to get LTD when you have no other money coming in and you are disabled and you come to us, it is like a boomerang. I mean, we hit the insurance company so hard, and that's why they know us and that's why they understand that when we represent someone, legitimately come through with all the facts of the case, they come to the table and they pay our clients sometimes a lot of money. We're talking about in the mid to high 6 figures in some cases. So, people need to understand that even though insurance companies only care about profit, and even though that may hurt you as the individual, if you've been wronged and you come to us, we will use that against the insurance company in your favor.
Is that motive part of the whole don't even bother applying?
For individuals?
Yeah, when the insurance company says don't even bother.
Absolutely.
100%. Save their cash, right?
Listen, insurance companies, again, I've been saying this for a while, it's one of the only products, or the only product that I know where you pay something only to get an adversary in return for that payment. You've paid for insurance in order to gain the safety net, whether it's car insurance, house insurance, disability insurance, or your employer has paid for that through their benefits, only for the insurance company to turn around and say, no, we're not going to pay anything. And why? Yeah. Why are they saying that? Because they want to make money. They don't want to pay you. That's one of the ways they make money.
We're talking the top 5 flaws insurance companies have. Another one, and you talked about this, adjusters often make mistakes or misread a claimant's LTD policy.
I can't tell you how many times we have gotten involved when these adjusters are simply making black and white mistakes. We're talking about the policy says one thing and they tell the individual something completely different. For example, I'll give you a very straightforward one. There are some cases out there that I have seen quite a few of them where a person was let go from their job. They're getting long-term disability. In many LTD policies, there's a provision that says that if you receive severance because your employer let you go, the insurance company is entitled to a credit for that. So in other words, the employer pays you that, but then you're not going to get that same amount for the LTD insurer. And so I've seen situations where insurance companies, adjusters, have said, no, yeah, that's what your LTD policy says, and then they stop paying the individual. And when I looked at the LTD policy didn't have that provision. Why? Because not every LTD policy is the same. Many of them are very similar, but that's why you have to always go to the wording of the policy. And that goes to an earlier point that these adjusters are often overwhelmed with these cases and they're making many, many mistakes. So you have to be on guard, or at least you have to have our number handy so you can call us and we're going to be on guard there for you.
So that's not an automatic thing?
No.
I always thought it was an automatic thing.
We talk about this all the time like it is because it's in many policies, but again, and that's what these adjusters think. And that's just one example. There are other provisions. These adjusters sometimes tell you to do something, and that's nowhere in the policy. Well, if it's not in the policy, they can't force you to do it. They can't force you to go see one of their doctors for treatment, for example. We talked about that. Many of these kinds of things. So these adjusters often make mistakes. Call them up on those mistakes. Don't simply let them do whatever they want. Don't tell them, don't let them bully you into making certain decisions and taking certain actions unless the policy specifically obligates you to do those things.
The fifth and final flaw, or at least for this show, that the insurance companies have, Sivan, is this: insurers are preoccupied with fraudulent claims and proving their illegitimacy.
That is something that has always bothered me. You know, we live in a time where insurance companies, I think, are gaslighting the population. You know, we've heard this many times before. Government has said, in order to reduce premiums, whether it's on car insurance, house insurance, whatever, we have to tackle fraud. No one says there's no fraud. No one says that there are no fraudulent claims. I work for insurance companies. I've seen them. But no one is talking about the fact that these insurance companies are, at the end of the day, what they do to individuals, like when you look at the aggregate of how much they are doing wrong by these individuals, that dwarfs whatever fraud there is out there by individuals. And so what they're doing, they're casting a wide net. They're gaslighting the population by saying, we're not going to pay X, Y, and Z because there's just fraud all over. But what they're not telling you is that they are the ones who are actually causing so much more damage by rejecting so many legitimate claims in the same vein.
If any of this sounds familiar or you want more information, you can reach out to Sivan. We'll take a short break and get back to lots more. 1-855-821-5900 is the number to go after Sivan, and just not go after them, but get some contact anyway. help@disabilityrights.ca, and again, ltdfaq.ca as well. We'll continue. More Disability Law Show is coming up. People think contractors aren't owed severance. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Many contractors are actually employees and are entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. How do you force insurance companies to pay long-term disability claims?
Insurance companies deny legitimate claims all the time. They're playing the odds. They know that most people are just going to walk away.
Your insurer may ignore you, they may even ignore your doctors, but they can't ignore us.
We know how insurance companies work. We know their weaknesses. We know how to use the legal process to force them to pay you what you're owed.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you are only owed 2 weeks' pay when you lose your job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. You may be owed much more than 2 weeks per year. Don't settle for less. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Welcome back, Disability Law Show. As mentioned, a bunch of websites that we've created, not we, Sivan and his crew have created over the years, but they're really helpful for you, right, to ask questions when we're not on air and you haven't made that phone call yet. One of them is mydisabilityquestions.com, mydisabilityquestions.com. You go there and you can simply type in your question. A member of Sivan's team will answer it quickly. Also, a searchable database, which means you can see if a question similar or exactly like yours has been asked. If not, leave it there and it will be answered. In that regard, Sivan, let's get to Maya. Maya says, my husband hasn't been the same since injuring his neck and shoulder in a bad car accident about 5 years ago on the way to work. His doctors say that he is still experiencing pain and related migraines. His insurer has been paying him, but now they say that there is no objective medical evidence to support his disability. What does that mean?
Well, it's the same thing over and over. I get these kinds of questions. I mean, Maya, thank you for reaching out, and thank God you did, because the reality is this. There is no requirement for there to be objective medical evidence. Think about this for a second, John. Is there objective medical evidence when you feel depressed? Is there objective medical evidence when you have a headache? I don't know, maybe they did an MRI scan and they saw something, hopefully not. But what about back pain, right? I mean, there are many, many times when you're experiencing pains or psychological issues. What's the subjective medical standard? Look, there is no requirement, unless the policy specifically says there must be objective medical findings, and even that, what does that mean? I can tell you the courts have weighed in on this issue, and courts have said that this is absolute nonsense. Okay? Again, we have to look at the context of what it is that we're dealing with. But Baya, I'm telling you right now, if your husband has not been able to work all this time, if the insurance company has been paying him LTD, I'd like to know how long. Because if the insurance company has paid him, for example, for over 2 years, it means that they've recognized if he has a standard type policy that he's disabled from any occupation, right? And so I would like to understand why the insurance company is suddenly taking the position that they will not pay him on the basis of no objective medical evidence when they've been paying him up until now. Either they should have denied him in the first place, or something changed. Maybe there's a new adjuster who thinks that he or she is just smart and can simply, get this person off claim. And that does happen quite a lot when you have a change of adjusters or you have some attention on your claim for this reason or another. And the reality is this, Maya, we can deal with this claim. We can probably resolve it fairly quickly with the insurance company. We just need to understand exactly what the medical documents say. We need to understand exactly what the rejection letter says, the denial letter from the insurance company. And I can tell you, John, we have resolved many of these cases very, very quickly without a lot of fight from the insurance companies.
But the doctors say he's still experiencing pain-related migraines. I mean, are the doctors not the gatekeeper of your health? They have the final say whether you can go to work or not, no? At the end of the day.
That's what we argue, absolutely. Insurance companies a lot of times cherry pick the information that they rely on from whatever the medical documents that you give them. But again, I keep coming back to the fact that these insurance companies are using every trick in the book to either shake you off claim or deny your claim outright. And as soon as they get some resistance, they either put you back on claim or they come to the table to pay a fair and equitable settlement. But the key is not to simply let them walk all over you. The key is simply not to roll over and let them trample over your rights. The key is to get the advice you need. And you need to go to a disability lawyer. And that's what we do. We deal strictly with long-term disability. And so when we're telling you you have a case, you have a case. When we're telling you you have no case, you have no case. But at least you know. That's the key thing here.
Want to get a quick email in the last couple minutes. Sivan from Keisha, again, help@disabilityrights.ca, says I'm 58, worked as a manager at a popular fast food restaurant chain for nearly 25 years. My doctor and rheumatologist say that I need to stop working due to pain from my rheumatoid arthritis. I tried to apply for long-term disability benefits, but was denied because the insurers said that I could do another job working as a kiosk clerk. Should I appeal this decision?
So the answer, the quick answer, Keisha, is no. You should not appeal. We've talked about appeals many times. These are simply the hamster wheels that you had referred to. You're going to get denied over and over and over. Again, I don't say that appeals never work. Just like I always say, you're free to play the lottery. It doesn't mean that you're never going to win. It's just that you're going to waste a lot of time, in my opinion, and frankly, you're going to get frustrated by the process. Look, Keisha, the insurance company, if you have a standard long-term disability policy, the test for the first 2 years of getting LTD is not can you do some other occupation, it's can you do your occupation. Can you do the essential tasks of your own occupation? And if the answer is no, and your doctor support that answer, that you cannot at the present time do it, you should get LTD. Beyond the 2-year mark, then the test changes to any occupation. But even then, look, she's a manager here. The question is, at the 2-year mark, can she find another job that will pay her, another occupation that will pay her 65% of her pre-disability income? And if the answer is no, she's entitled to LTD beyond the 2-year mark, John. So again, people need to understand, if the insurance company, for any reason, rejects your claim, denies your claim, tells you, gives you some excuse, whatever the excuse is, and something doesn't ring right, just pick up the phone, email us. It costs nothing to speak to anyone on my team. We will give you the information you need. We'll review the documentation, and we'll give you your options. And at least you'll be empowered, and you'll know what you can do. That's what it comes down to, John.
I'm not sure kiosk clerk, I don't know what it pays, but I don't think it would reach that threshold of 65, or what do you call it, commensurate income, right?
Commensurate income, exactly. No, I agree with you 100%, but we don't even get to point 2 here, because point 1 or step 1 here is, if she has a standard policy, that's not the test. It's not can you do another job, it's can you do your own occupation, period.
And that is it for another show. Thank you so much for all the correspondence and reaching out. You could do so now that we're done, or catch our radio show. Tune into a station near you that carries the show, disabilityrights.ca. That is the website used for that. LTDFAQ.ca, and finally, help@disabilityrights.ca for email address as well. We'll catch you next time. Disability Law Show. Thanks for sticking around with us. People think you have to sign back a severance offer by a deadline. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Deadlines are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure the offer is fair before you sign. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.